Recording log 47892.3, Chief Scientist Krillvax speaking. Today marks the completion of Project Containment, and I must say, I am beyond thrilled. The tall, purple-skinned scientist adjusted his protective suit as he strode through the gleaming corridors of the Galactic Research Institute. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of supreme satisfaction among his species. Behind the reinforced observation windows, an enormous chamber stretched nearly 2 kilometers in length. Pristine white walls housed the most sophisticated defense systems ever created by the Galactic Council. Krillvax paused at the main viewport, his secondary arms gesturing enthusiastically as he continued his log entry. Our containment system represents the pinnacle of 15 species' combined defensive technologies. We have laser grids capable of slicing through battleship armor, gravity wells that can crush a small moon, sonic disruptors that can liquefy solid rock, and atmospheric controllers that can switch from absolute zero to plasma state in 0.3 seconds. He chuckled, a sound like tinkling crystals. The fools at the council said it couldn't be done. A unified defense system to stop any biological entity. Preposterous, they said. But here it stands, the most sophisticated killing field ever devised. Walking to his pristine white desk, Krillvax activated the holographic display. Countless diagnostic readings flooded the air around him, each showing optimal performance. The security feeds displayed every angle of his beautiful creation. Gleaming metal, humming force fields, and enough firepower to level a small continent. We've tested it against every known predatory species in the galaxy. The Ravagers of Sector 7 didn't make it past the first chamber. Those supposedly unstoppable Krex berserkers stopped cold in their tracks. Even the legendary crystal beings of Nixis 4 couldn't penetrate our defenses. His voice took on a smugger tone, if that was even possible. The beauty of it is its adaptability. The system learns from each attempt, becoming even more impenetrable. It's not just a barrier. It's an evolving, thinking defense mechanism that grows stronger with every challenge. Krillvax pressed his hand against the cold viewing glass, admiring how the security lights played across the chamber's surfaces. Tomorrow, we begin official demonstrations for the Galactic Defense Council. Soon, every major installation in known space will want our containment system. Not a single unauthorized life form will be able to breach facilities protected by our creation. The intercom crackled to life. Chief Scientist, sir, we have an unusual situation. A ship just entered the system. They're requesting permission to attempt our containment course. They claim to be human. Krillvax's antenna twitched in amusement. Human? Never heard of them. Well, let them try. It will be good to add another species to our list of failures. The system's perfect record remains unbroken, after all. Oh, how wrong he was about to be. The control room buzzed with activity as 3 of the galaxy's most brilliant minds gathered around the central monitoring station. Dr. Knox, a floating gas-filled membrane of translucent blue, bobbed gently as she reviewed the latest system diagnostics. Her species' natural ability to process complex data streams made her the perfect choice for monitoring the containment system's millions of sensors. The calibrations are perfect, as always, Dr. Knox announced, her voice modulator creating pleasant chimes with each word. All 427 defense layers are operating at peak efficiency. Though I must say, I'm curious about these humans. Their ship's construction is quite unusual. Professor Zara 9 stretched her crystalline form upward, refracting light in complex patterns that expressed her skepticism. As the weapons specialist, she had designed most of the lethal aspects of their containment system. Unusual how? My scanners show their vessel is barely holding together. It's made of materials we stopped using centuries ago. That's what makes it interesting, hummed Dr. Knox. Their ship should have fallen apart during FTL travel, yet here they are. Security Chief Blitz, a massive arthropoid with gleaming black armor, clicked his mandibles in annoyance. Need I remind you both of our success rate? Remember the thorn beasts of Sigma 9, 6 meters tall, acid blood, regenerative abilities. My security protocols turned them back in under 10 seconds. Professor Zara 9 sparkled with amusement. Or those self-proclaimed space pirates last month. The ones who boasted about breaking into the ancient vaults of Krell. They didn't even make it past the welcome mat. My personal favorite, chimed Dr. Knox, was that swarm of phase-shifting locusts. 10 million of them hit our gravity wells and, poof, instant bug juice. The three scientists shared a moment of professional pride. Their containment system represented the perfect fusion of their specialties. Knox's sensor arrays that could detect a single atom out of place, Zara 9's devastating weapon systems, and Blitz's impenetrable security protocols. Speaking of records, Blitz clicked, pulling up a holographic scoreboard. We've successfully stopped 2,947 attempted breaches. Everything from microscopic infiltrators to capital-class assault platforms. These humans will just be number 2,948. Professor Zara 9 refracted thoughtfully. Though I must admit their request is unusually polite. Most species either try to sneak in or blast their way through. These humans actually scheduled an appointment and signed all the safety waivers, added Dr. Knox, her membrane rippling with curiosity. They even asked if they should bring refreshments for the observation team. How peculiar. Peculiar or not, Blitz chittered, they'll face the same fate as all the others. The system adapts to counter any possible threat. No biological entity can survive the combined effects of our defenses. A gentle, alert tone filled the control room. Chief Scientist Krill Vax's voice followed. They're ready to begin. Places everyone. Let's show these humans why our containment system is the pride of the Galactic Council. The three scientists moved to their stations, each confident in their creation's capabilities. None of them noticed the small notation in the human's application form, easily missed among the standard bureaucratic information. Planet of origin, Earth. Classification, Deathworld. The docking procedure was remarkably normal, which should have been their first warning sign. The human vessel, a battered-looking ship named Dave's Weekend Cruiser, attached to their state-of-the-art docking ring with a solid clunk. Are they serious? Professor Zara 9 sparkled incredulously. Their airlock is sealed with... Is that duct tape? Dr. Knox's membrane pulsed rapidly as she analysed the incoming scan data. That can't be right. The atmospheric readings from their ship. They're breathing nitrogen and oxygen, with trace amounts of carbon dioxide. That's practically poison. Their gravity settings are even more absurd. Security Chief Blitz clicked, his mandibles twitching. They're maintaining 9.8 meters per second squared. That's enough to crush most species. The scientists watched through the observation window as the airlock cycled. A single figure emerged, walking casually as if out for a morning stroll. The human was wearing what appeared to be casual clothing, something they called jeans and a t-shirt, with the words, "I'm with stupid," and an arrow pointing upward. "Where's their environmental suit?" Krillvax demanded, all four eyes widening in shock. "The station's atmosphere should be toxic to most carbon-based life." "According to their paperwork," Dr. Knox chimed, "they checked comfortable in standard atmosphere on the form. I assumed it was a translation error." The human approached the reception area, smiling and waving. The universal translator kicked in as they spoke. "Hi there, I'm Dave. Heard you folks had some sort of obstacle course challenge. Thought I'd give it a go while I'm in the sector. Got a delivery of coffee beans headed to Proxima Centauri next week." The entire scientific team stared in stunned silence. Finally, Krillvax found his voice. You're a cargo hauler?" "Yep," Dave grinned, rocking back and forth on his heels. "Found your advertisement while browsing the galactic net. Ultimate Containment System seeks test subjects. Survivors will receive substantial compensation. Figured it'd be a fun way to spend my layover. Plus I could use the credits for a new paint job on the old girl." He thumbed back toward his ship. Professor Zara 9 refracted in disbelief. "But our containment system has stopped military-grade assault teams. You're not even armed." "Oh, should I have brought equipment?" Dave looked genuinely concerned. "The form just said to wear comfortable clothes and sign the waiver." Security Chief Blitz pulled the other scientists into a hasty huddle. "We can't let this proceed. The liability issues alone." "Our sensors must be malfunctioning," Dr. Knox insisted. "No species could naturally survive these conditions. They must have some kind of advanced technology we're not detecting." "I can hear you guys, you know," Dave called out cheerfully. "And no special tech, just your average human here. Well, maybe a bit below average. I skipped leg day this week." Krillvax's scientific curiosity finally overcame his concern. "You understand this course was designed to be lethal? We have warnings in 47 languages." 48 now, Dave beamed. "I added the human translation to your form." "You had a typo in section 7B, by the way. Unless you really meant to say the gravity wells will crush my banana instead of my body." The scientists exchanged worried glances. Protocol dictated they couldn't refuse a properly submitted application, but allowing this seemingly suicidal human to attempt the course seemed profoundly unethical. "Last chance to reconsider," Krillvax offered. "We've had battle-hardened warriors turn back at this point." Dave stretched casually, a series of pops and cracks emanating from his spine that made the scientists wince. "Nah, I'm good, but hey, anyone want a snack first?" "I brought these things called Doritos. They're orange, which I'm pretty sure is a universal constant for cheese flavor." As the human happily munched on his terrifyingly orange triangles, the scientific team realized they were about to witness either a horrible tragedy or something unprecedented in galactic history. They had no idea it would be both. Dave stood at the entrance of the containment system, finishing his last Dorito with a loud crunch that made Security Chief Blitz's antennae twitch. The massive doors slid open with an ominous hiss, revealing the sterile white corridor that had spelled doom for countless challengers. "Right then," Dave said, brushing orange dust off his shirt. "So I just need to get to the other end. Any rules against running?" Dr. Knox's membrane fluctuated nervously. "The fastest completion time was 3 seconds. That was how long it took a quantum phase assassin to disintegrate. Neat. I'll try to beat that." Dave started doing light stretches. "Though fair warning, I haven't run since that incident with the Space Bears last month." In the control room, the scientific team initiated the startup sequence. Hundreds of holographic displays sprang to life, each monitoring a different aspect of their lethal creation. Professor Zara 9 began the standard announcement. "Testing sequence initiated. Chamber 1 activating gravitational manipulation field." Dave took his first step into the chamber. The gravity immediately increased to 50 times standard. The floor beneath him cracked. Feels a bit heavy," Dave commented, continuing to walk normally. "Reminds me of that super-Earth colony where I helped install their coffee machines." Krillvax's lower left eye twitched. "Impossible! Increased to maximum power." The gravity multiplied to 200 times standard. Dave scratched his nose, looking mildly inconvenienced. "Oh yeah, definitely getting a workout now. Should have carbo-loaded this morning." "Chamber 2, engaging," Professor Zara 9 announced, her crystalline form vibrating with anxiety. "Atmospheric control system deploying absolute zero freeze." The temperature plummeted to near 0 Kelvin. Frost formed on the walls, then immediately sublimated as the chamber switched to plasma state temperatures. Dave wiped some sweat from his brow. "Bit chilly, bit hot, bit chilly again," he narrated cheerfully as he strolled through the rapidly changing extremes. "You guys should visit Minnesota in spring. This is pretty much a normal Tuesday there." Dr. Knox's readings were going haywire. His core temperature is barely fluctuating, and he's whistling. Indeed, Dave had started whistling what he later claimed was something called walking on sunshine as he entered Chamber 3. The laser grid activated, thousands of beams capable of cutting through battleship armor crisscrossing the space. "Ooh, pretty." Dave ducked, weaved, and occasionally stopped to admire the patterns. Reminds me of that rave on Jupiter's moon last year, though the music there was better. No offense to your death lasers. Security Chief Blitz was frantically checking his systems. He's not dodging them all, several direct hits confirmed, but his clothing isn't even singed. Oh, this old shirt? Dave paused to look down at himself. Yeah, cotton's pretty sturdy stuff. Plus, I got it on sale. Chamber 4 unleashed its sonic disruptors, frequencies designed to liquefy solid rock. Dave stuck a finger in his ear and wiggled it. Bit loud in here. Mind turning it down a notch? My tinnitus acts up in high frequencies. By Chamber 5, the scientific team was in complete disarray. Krillvax had stress-molted half his protective coating. Dr. Knox had turned a concerning shade of green. Professor Zara 9's crystal structure was developing stress fractures. Deploying nanite swarm, Blitz announced, his voice wavering. Maximum aggression protocols. Billions of microscopic robots swarmed toward Dave, programmed to disassemble any organic matter they encountered. He sneezed. Sorry, allergies, Dave sniffled, waving his hand through the cloud of now defunct nanites. Gets me every spring, and apparently whatever season this is. The monitoring equipment was registering readings that should have been impossible. Every sensor was either maxed out or displaying error messages. One particularly stressed device simply displayed, no, just no. Chamber 6, Professor Zara 9 whispered, her voice cracking. Reality phase disruption. The very fabric of space-time began to warp and twist around Dave. He paused, looking genuinely impressed for the first time. Now that's cool. The colours are amazing. Kind of like that time I accidentally drank that quantum physicist's coffee during the space-time symposium. He pulled out his phone. Mind if I take a selfie? My mum loves this kind of stuff. The reality warping field, designed to tear atoms apart at a quantum level, served as perfect mood lighting for Dave's photo. He even added a filter. As he approached the final chamber, the scientific team could only watch in horror and fascination. Their perfect containment system, the pinnacle of galactic defensive technology, had been reduced to an amusing walk in the park for this Deathworlder. And Dave? He was just hoping they had more Doritos in the break room. What do you mean the quantum field is yielding? Krillvax's voice had risen several octaves as he stared at the rapidly deteriorating situation displays. That's not even physically possible. Dave had entered Chamber 7, whistling what he called "Another One Bites the Dust," while the most sophisticated defensive systems in the galaxy suffered collective nervous breakdowns around him. Deploying emergency containment measures. Dr. Knox's membrane was practically tied in knots. Activating the antimatter pulse generators. Brilliant flashes of light erupted around Dave as matter and antimatter collided. He paused to watch the light show, occasionally making appreciative ooh and ah sounds. You know, Dave called out, this reminds me of my sister's wedding. She hired this DJ who did amazing light effects, though the bass was better there. Could you maybe add some music to this? Professor Zara 9's crystalline form was developing hairline fractures from stress. The antimatter isn't... he's not... How is he still solid? Hang on, Dave stopped walking and patted his pockets. Did anyone hear a sizzling sound? I think I had a candy bar in here somewhere. Oh, wait. Found it. He pulled out a partially melted chocolate bar. Bit squished, but still good. Anyone want some? Security Chief Blitz's mandibles were clicking so rapidly they sounded like a malfunctioning keyboard. Activating the time dilation field. Let's see him walk through locally accelerated time. The air around Dave shimmered as temporal forces warped and twisted. For a moment, everything seemed to work. Then... Is this supposed to make me feel jet-lagged? Dave yawned, stretching his arms. Because I've had worse after that red-eye flight from Alpha Centauri. Their coffee is terrible, by the way. The control room erupted into chaos. Warning lights flashed across every console. Alarms blared in 17 different frequencies, One monitor simply displayed a small white flag. "The primary containment grid is overloading." Dr. Knox's voice modulator was glitching with panic. "The system's trying to adapt to his biology, but nothing makes sense. His cellular structure should have collapsed 12 different ways by now." Dave had stopped to tie his shoelace, completely ignoring the space-time anomalies swirling around him. "You guys have a great setup here. Really gets the blood pumping. Though you might want to check your ventilation system. It's a bit stuffy." "Stuffy?" Krillvax screamed. "We've removed all the air from that section." "Huh." Dave stood up, brushing off his knees. "That explains why my ears popped. Thought it was just the altitude." Professor Zara 9 frantically engaged the backup systems. "Releasing the experimental phase shift predators. They exist in 12 dimensions simultaneously. Nothing can survive direct contact." The air rippled as monstrous forms materialized around Dave, their geometrically impossible shapes hurting the eyes of anyone who looked directly at them. Dave squinted at them curiously. "Oh, they're kind of cute. Remind me of my aunt's cats. Same tendency to exist in multiple dimensions at once, especially around dinner time." The phase shift predators took one good look at Dave, made sounds that could only be described as nope in 12 different dimensional frequencies, and promptly vanished. "Full system reset!" Security Chief Blitz slammed all his appendages on the emergency controls. "Purge all protocols. Start from scratch." The entire chamber filled with swirling energy as every defensive system activated simultaneously. Gravity wells collapsed in on themselves. Temporal fields twisted into pretzel shapes. Reality itself seemed to hiccup. Dave paused to take a video on his phone. "This is great. Way better than that black hole tour I took last summer. Their gift shop was overpriced anyway." The main computer, in a last desperate attempt to make sense of the situation, began displaying increasingly confused messages. "Error. Subject appears to violate laws of physics. Warning. Reality compliance failure. Notice. Please explain. Help. I quit." The backup computer took one look at the readings, displayed "I'm with stupid" with an arrow pointing at the main computer, and shut itself down. Dr. Knox's membrane had turned completely transparent from shock. He's almost at the end. Nothing's stopping him. Everything we've tried has either failed or made him comment about his vacation photos." "Maybe," Krillvax whispered, his voice hoarse from screaming. "Maybe we should try asking him nicely to stop." "Oh, hey," Dave called out, now just meters from the finish line. "Quick question. Is it normal for that big swirly thing behind me to be eating the other swirly things? Because I'm no scientist, but that looks like a cascade failure of multiple overlapping dimensional barriers." Behind him, their billion-credit containment system was indeed beginning to collapse in on itself, reality warping in ways that would give mathematics professors nightmares. "Also," Dave added helpfully, "I think your quantum uncertainty field is getting pretty certain about wanting to explode." The scientific team could only watch in horror as their perfect defense system, the pride of the Galactic Council, transformed into what appeared to be modern art, made of broken physics and denied expectations. And through it all, Dave just kept walking, occasionally stopping to take photos for what he called his space Instagram. Security Chief Blitz stared at his security feeds, all 18 of his eyes twitching uncontrollably. "The containment field is containing itself. That's not even a thing. How is that a thing?" The control room had devolved into something between a scientific crisis and an existential breakdown. Dr. Knox had turned herself inside out, which for her species was the equivalent of stress-eating an entire cake. Professor Zara 9 was quietly humming the universal frequency for Goodbye Cruel World while generating stress diamonds. Dave reached the final checkpoint, turned around and waved at the observation window. "Hey, is this the end? Great course, by the way. Though you might want to check on that space-time rupture back there. Pretty sure Tuesday is leaking into next week." Krillvax slumped over his console, all 4 eyes staring blankly into the middle distance. 3 centuries of research, 15 species combined defensive technology, 47 different types of supposedly lethal force, and he treated it like a tourist attraction. Speaking of which, Dave's voice crackled over the intercom, do you have a gift shop? My niece collects magnets from places that tried to kill me. It's becoming quite the hobby. The emergency council meeting that followed was pure chaos. Holograms of the galaxy's leading scientists flickered as they shouted over each other. But the gravity alone should have... The phase shift predators never run. They're physically incapable of... Did he really ask about a gift shop? Why was he whistling? Meanwhile, in the control room, the defensive systems were having what could only be described as a mechanical nervous breakdown. The main computer had started writing poetry about the futility of existence. The backup computer was demanding early retirement. 3 different reality anchors had filed for unemployment. Look on the bright side, Dave offered through the still active intercom. At least you've got great data now, though you might want to update your warning signs. Certain death seems a bit misleading. Professor Zara 9's crystalline form shattered and reformed for the 5th time in as many minutes. The quantum uncertainty readings, they're all coming back as maybe. The computer's supposed to be definitive. Update from engineering, a trembling voice announced over the general channel. They say the space-time distortion is spreading. Tuesday is now officially cancelled next week. Also, several laws of physics have filed formal complaints. Dr. Knox finally turned herself right side out again. Did anyone actually check what planet he's from? Krillvax robotically pulled up the application form. His voice was barely a whisper as he read. Planet of origin, Earth. Classification, death. Deathworld. The entire control room went silent. Even the alarms seemed to pause respectfully. Oh yeah, Dave called out cheerfully. Probably should have mentioned that earlier. We evolved on a planet that's basically trying to kill us 24/7. This course kind of reminded me of my morning commute, actually, except with better lighting. Security Chief Blitz's exoskeleton had developed a nervous tic. A Deathworlder. We invited a Deathworlder to test our containment system, a system designed by species that evolved in safe, stable environments. To be fair, Dave added, your safety waiver was very thorough, though you might want to add a checkbox for evolved in conditions that violate common sense. Just a suggestion. The scientific team watched in helpless horror as their most deadly creation continued to collapse in on itself, reality hiccuping in its wake, while Dave stood at the finish line taking selfies with the dimensional anomalies. So, he asked brightly, about those completion credits, do you happen to accept Universal Express? My credit chip got kind of dissolved in Chamber 4. The official report to the Galactic Council was remarkably brief. It simply read, Project suspended pending review of basic universal constants. Also, Tuesday has been temporarily relocated to next month. We apologize for any inconvenience. In the facility's break room, Dave sat with the scientific team, sipping something they'd assured him was almost, but not quite, entirely unlike coffee. The scientist stared at him with a mixture of fear, awe, and deep professional regret. So you're saying, Krillvax said slowly, his protective coating finally starting to grow back, that your species regularly survives conditions that we considered theoretically unsurvivable? Pretty much, Dave shrugged. You should see Black Friday sales at our shopping centres. Now that's lethal. This was more like a mild workout. And Dr. Knox, who had finally stopped flickering between dimensions, asked, But the antimatter pulses? The temporal displacement? The reality warping? Oh, that part was cool, Dave grinned. Reminded me of this one time I accidentally mixed energy drinks with my morning coffee, though your light show had better special effects. Professor Zara 9, now held together with emergency structural supports, chimed in. We'll have to completely reconceptualize our understanding of defensive technology. Nothing we designed could possibly stop a Deathworlder. Well, Dave said thoughtfully, pulling out his phone, I did take notes. Chamber 3 could be trickier if you added some smooth jazz. Really throws off our rhythm, and maybe some mildly annoying bureaucratic paperwork in Chamber 5. That stuff's our kryptonite. Security Chief Blitz, whose exoskeleton now permanently clicked with anxiety, asked, "What will you do with the prize money?" "Probably get my ship's coffee maker fixed. It's been making everything taste like quantum uncertainty lately." Dave stood up, stretching. "Speaking of which, anyone want to grab a real coffee? I know this great place in the Andromeda Galaxy. Their espresso only violates 3 laws of thermodynamics." As Dave left, whistling what he claimed was staying alive, the scientific team began updating their resumes. Krillvax was considering a career in something less stressful, like black hole containment. Dr. Knox had already applied to study something more predictable, like chaos theory. A week later, they received a package from Earth. Inside was a coffee mug with the words, "I survived the galaxy's deadliest containment system, and all I got was this lousy temporal displacement." The mug existed in 3 different timelines simultaneously, and the coffee inside never got cold.